Our menu has recently changed. Please listen carefully to the new.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Not radio.
Good morning, and welcome to Side Spot. Hope you found yourself a nice little cozy corner in the house. You have your feet up, hot cup of coffee, and ready to sit back and enjoy Side Spot. This is Sabir Aleem, and I have my cup of coffee here. As a matter of fact, I'm doing some aromatherapy here this morning. Have my vanilla scented candle sitting in front of my pond, my newly developed pond in vivarium. You can't see it on the radio, but you can see the recorded episode of Side Spot on Daddy's Right Here YouTube station. At some point today, I'll upload it after I finish editing it and put it on for your viewing. This is upstairs in my office. It's a pond and vivarium. It's a double unit actually. One of the units here behind me houses Jake, my corn snake. The other unit, I haven't yet decided whether I want to put a Uromastyx in it or a pair of bearded dragons or water dragons, the Japanese water dragons. I'm not really sure. 99% of the plants that you see back here are live. So yes, I come and I spray them every day. They get watered as they're supposed to get watered, and they get the required lighting. I have a plant light over top of them, and this is in my office. And on the other side of the office, you can't see, there's also a fish tank that I have with African cichlids. So this is the place to be, and I welcome you to Side Spot. We wrapped up the show last Friday in concluding some of the reasons why children misbehave. We're talking about discipline versus punishment, and we concluded with some discussion on why children misbehave, and we talked about one of the examples being for them misbehaving is not feeling well. Well, I was thinking as I was preparing my coffee about what it was like for me being punished for something and not having a full explanation as to why I was being punished. Because I was actually being punished. It wasn't being disciplined. I was being punished. And I was being punished for an inappropriate interaction between myself and a female cousin. We were young. When we're at that age, 10, 11, 12-year-olds, very curious about one another's bodies. She was female, I'm male. We were playing as children, and we got caught by my uncle. So needless to say, the very next day came, and I thought maybe that was the end of it that happened on the previous day. But I was in the bathroom taking a shower, and my uncle knocks on the door to come in. Okay, he said he had to go to the bathroom. Okay, open the door, man, it's no issue. And he comes in carrying a belt. Closes the door and tells me to turn around. And at this point, I'm petrified because there's only about maybe a foot of space between him and I. The door was closed. I was going absolutely nowhere. So, as he's beating me with the belt, he's telling me that what I was doing was wrong. That you don't sleep with your cousin. You don't do those kind of things with your cousin. And I don't remember the verbiage, but I do remember him telling me I was wrong for what I was doing. That's not what we're supposed to do as family members. Okay. Should I have been beat for that? And this is not a condemnation of my uncle, because this is something that many parents tend to do and not even addressing the issue so a child can understand why it's wrong. And it's funny, the same conversation came up in class on Wednesday this week with some of the fathers, because we began to have some dialogue about extended/blended families, and we were talking about cousins, and some of the guys were saying, well, it's okay if the cousin is not like the immediate cousin. She's not the she or he is not the second or third cousin, that they're somewhere along the line down the generations, so it's okay. And it was just so funny to hear this, because many still believe that yes, they may be family, but because they're so far down the line in the generation tree, that they're okay. So I don't know where my uncle's belief system is in terms of how far down the tree it's okay, but I just knew that it was wrong. So I get chastised via a belt, but what did I learn? I learned that if I did it again and I got caught, I would be punished. That's what I learned. Like many other things that I learned as a child, if I got caught and my parent or the adult perceived as being wrong, then I need not get caught. So again, out of fear of punishment, I wouldn't do certain things in their presence. But if I thought I could get away with it, I would do it, like any other child, like any other person. If we can do something and get away with it, the likelihood of us repeating it will continue until when? Until we get caught. So needless to say, I don't recall of whether there were any other interactions with that particular family member, but as children, again, we do things, and we do things in the moment. And the last thing that comes to mind most of the times is the punishment. But when you discipline a child, and you sit down and you have dialogue with the child about what just took place, you have to ask yourself first, does a physical beating or a verbal attack explain the severity, the significance of the child's actions? Does that change anything? You ask yourself that. I say no, it doesn't change anything, because all the beatings that I got throughout my childhood didn't change anything. It just made me fear my mother. That's all it did. So we have to take the approach of educating, and a lot of the issues that many of our children face today is that they are uneducated, that they repeat certain behaviors at certain points of life because I can no longer be held accountable by my mother or by my uncle for that behavior I did as a child, which he said that I was wrong for doing. As an adult, who's going to chastise me for that? I'm an adult, I'm grown now. Can I still be chastised by my family members for doing something of that nature? It's a question. And many have their views on it like anything else, but it's something we need to begin to think about. Because coming into adulthood, I need to have an understanding of why I should not do certain things based on right and wrong, not out of fear. Not out of fear. Many parents have in their minds that the child needs to be very clear on who is in charge, and they make that firm line, that firm boundary line, based in physical presence or verbal presence. Now, when I say verbal presence, I mean in the sense of yelling and screaming and being derogatory towards me in terms of calling me outside of my name and belittling me and my character. That's not helping me as a child. As a matter of fact, it is deeply embedding a negative self-concept within that child. If you tell a child they made a mistake, if you tell a child that this is something you don't want to repeat because of the long-term ramifications or possible ramifications upon you and or the circumstance, and help them to see the damage that can be caused by repeated behavior or the damage caused by that behavior at the time, a child begins to understand those things. We tend to act like children don't understand, but they understand based on their age, their intellect at the time. And oftentimes we talk to children like they're adults. Again, I can't talk to a 5-year-old from the perspective of a 50-year-old. I have to talk from the perspective of a person who's acquired some wisdom, who has developed some maturity, who has an understanding of childhood development, to understand that I need to speak to you and practice reflective listening in order to see that you understand fully what I'm saying. Because if I'm yelling at you and saying to you, you understand what I'm saying? I mean, Theo has said, yes, I understand. We teach our children to cower. We don't teach our children, to have dignity, to have integrity, to sit up high when we talk to them in that manner. When you talk to a child in a dignified manner, when you show them examples, when you get them to show you examples or to tell you examples of how the circumstance happening may have affected or may have not been conducive to the circumstance, then you just have to really begin to think. And a lot of times we don't think before we say things to our children. We react based on our condition, how I'm feeling at the time, and what may have just taken place prior to this interaction between myself and the child may greatly affect how I react to the child, because there's a difference between reacting and responding. There's a big difference. Reacting is more impulsive than anything else because of a feeling or thought about the circumstance that just happened. Responding is more of a let me stop and think about what I'm about to say or do, then go for it. And a lot of times our responding is almost on autopilot when we condition ourselves to stay on course with always teaching our children, always being in a teaching mode, always being in a learning mode, always waiting for that opportunity to teach, not to punish. That's the mode we have to learn to stay in. So therefore, when we respond, we're responding from a condition that says, I want the child to come away from this learning something. And sometimes we come away from the circumstance learning something. And that's another good aspect that we have to begin to look at situations from. Am I coming away from this circumstance feeling like I taught my child something? Like my child learned something from me? not are they afraid of me. Do they understand who's in charge? That doesn't work. I'd like to give recognition to Virginia State University. I've been using their material for some of my classes on discipline and punishment. This is from the Virginia Cooperative Extension, and Lesson 2, Discipline for Young Children, Discipline and Punishment, What is the Difference, is an excellent resource. If you want to go online and find some information that you yourself can use for you and your family, or you can pass on to some other parents who may be having some difficulties in understanding and needing to see the significance. Because when I took it just to the printer to get copies made, the guy said, "Wow, man, this is a great topic." He said, "A lot of us need to have this information because sometimes we forget." And he gave me an example of a young lady who was working for him, teenager, who would come in every morning and walk right past everybody and not say good morning. And how he had to pull her aside one day and say, "Hey, it's only proper that when you come into a place that you say good morning to those who are already there." And then he gave her another example about another young lady who's younger than her, who comes in every morning, who will speak to each and every person individually. If they're sitting at their station, that she will come to them and say good morning. And he asked her, said, did you notice that? And she said yes. And he, she began to tell him how bad she felt about not doing that. Just said, "Listen, I was never taught that. I was never taught that." So again, kudos to Virginia State University for this wonderful information. There's another piece here on discipline for young children, why children misbehave. And one of the things it talked about here is which one of these answers will help children behave better and also help them feel they are able and a worthwhile person. They give an example here. This is what happened. John broke a glass when he was drying the dishes. Would you say, A, don't be clumsy, or B, wet glasses are slippery. Next time, hold the glass this way, and show them how to hold the glass. First reaction is because we have some sentimental connection to this glass that was broken, is to react to that. And that's what I mean about reacting. This glass cost me $4. You just broke my $4 glass. Well, what about the human glass? What about that being glass? What about the human being glass? What about what you just did to that person's personality? Because that is a person. What about the damage just happened to their personality for you calling them clumsy? For you calling them stupid? For you making them feel like they're a bad person? What about that? How about, you know what? We'll get another glass. Don't worry about it. It's okay. You made a mistake. But the next time, this is how you want to hold the glass. You hold it with the cloth, hold up that part with the cloth, and then dry with the other end. You show them, you demonstrate to them, say, okay, listen, don't even worry about it. It's okay. It was a mistake. And children begin to understand, okay, it was a mistake. I didn't do it on purpose. I didn't do it on purpose. Another example they give is 4-year-old Robin wet her pants and start to cry. Would you say, A, you're a bad girl, you're too big to do that? Or B, sometimes we forget to go to the bathroom. You can go change now. Which one? Instead of having the child stand there and listen to you lecturing about you're too big for this, you're supposed to not... Come on now. we really need to take a look at some things that we say. I had it said to me when I didn't use the pot. But you're potty training me. Hello? If you are potty training me, what does that mean? That means you are conditioning me to learn how to use the proper facilities for going to the bathroom. You're training me. The child wet themselves. They're standing there wet. Now you want to scream and yell and beat them, and they're wet. How do you think that feels? How would you feel if you were in a circumstance where, beyond your control, you wet yourself? You want somebody saying to you, oh, it's time for you to get some Depends. You should have had those on anyway. You know you're old. You know you have an incontinence issue. As opposed to, Bill, listen, you have some dry clothing with you. You want me to get you some things? And you need a washcloth so you can... I know you must feel really uncomfortable right now. You want me to... I can take care of this right now. You can take care of that. And if I can help you, let me know. Okay? Sometimes we're just so hurtful with some of the things we say, and we really want to look at what it is that we're saying to a person, and we really want to look from our own perspective as to how I would feel if someone addressed me in that manner. How would I want somebody to say something to me in response to a behavior? Or I mean, really, think about it. Would you want somebody to yell at you? I mean, because I can remember the times. I really can. I can remember the times coming up because me going to the bathroom on myself went well beyond 4 years old, 7 years old. It went into my teens. And I know for a fact, and studies support that it had everything to do with anxiety. I had developed an anxiety disorder as a result of the conditioning throughout my childhood, from going back to while I was in my mother's womb, with the stress that my father had put upon her with his violence. The abuse that my mother was going through at the time greatly impacted the fetus within her. Which is why I cried so much when I came out. Which is probably why I cry so much now. I mean, I can watch Bambi and start crying. I'm not afraid to say that. But we have to look at conditions. Children misbehave for a variety of reasons, and we need to start asking them more questions and stop telling them what's wrong with them. And I'm really tired of hearing over and over again, what's wrong with these kids today? Well, there's a whole lot wrong with these kids today. The level of stress that a parent carries goes right into her fetus. So instead of chastising a child who is now pregnant, yes, you're underage, you're pregnant, and you're pregnant, I understand that. But why make it so much harder on the child? Okay, you're pregnant. What kind of pregnancy did you want to have? What makes for a healthy pregnancy? What makes for a healthy child while in the fetus? How many of you even know that? How many of you take the time to think that out? Sometimes we're just so selfish and so self-centered in our thinkings and our doings that we're so harmful to people. And we wonder why there's so much space between us and other family members, or us and our own mates. You want to know why children misbehave? Ask them. Ask them. Invest some time in asking the questions. Learn, we can learn so much from our children if we allow them some level of independence. And speaking of independence, Jada Pinkett, for whatever reason, felt as though it was necessary for her to validate why she gives their daughter so much freedom in dressing herself and doing things to her hair that she has given her. I really didn't think that she needed to justify it in any manner or to validate anything that she does as a parent, because they're both great parents. But we always tend to find something wrong in people's way of doing things. And again, you know, we're trying to teach children right from wrong. We don't need to be so judgmental of other people's methods. Sometimes we need to listen, because you know what? I don't care how many children you have. Each one of them is different. And we keep trying to mold and shape every child to be the same, one like the other. And that's another reason why a lot of children misbehave as well. Because you make comparisons between them and their siblings, between them and other family members, between them and their classmates, between them and somebody you see on TV. You don't know everybody's condition. So, stop. Now, getting back to the story about Jada Pinkett, it was a great story, because one of the things that I read through my research and through the studies is that, you know, you have to give children independence. You have to allow them to grow into their independence. And I was reading an article, and I'm putting it with Jada Pinkett's article, where it was suggested that Monday through Friday, you may be the one putting out the child's clothes because they're going to school, and you want to ensure that they're in alignment with what school policies are. But on the weekend, or times when you guys are going somewhere, going out, allow the child to pick out their own clothes. So what if they put on paisley print and stripes? So what if they just want to put this big humongous bow on their head, or they want to wear a hat that's totally off color? Well, it's off color to you. It's big and gaudy and gawky to you, but to the child feels so good about themselves because they were able to get dressed and dress themselves. This is how I want to look. This is how I want to look. So many of us want mini-me's. We want our children to have one of the same outfits that we do. We want our children to dress like we do. Why? Why? That adds to children's self-perception. And it also adds to why they may be misbehaving. They feel no level of independence. None. Children need to feel accepted. You know, children who feel like they're rejected by their parents will always be at odds with the parent in some capacity, because for some reason I just don't feel like you like me. But children who are accepted will sit down, they will listen to the discipline, they will accept the discipline, and they will learn from the discipline. Next week's show, we're going to speak to the behaviors that happen in a blended family, because this is another issue that continues to arise, and it happens on both sides of the fence, where a child is punished and or disciplined for things that are directly related to this new relationship that has formed with the other parent, which now begins a triangulation, where there's a fight, there's a battle that goes on, and the parents have the ability to put that to an end, but often do not, because they are stuck in their own stuff. Thank you for joining, and again, you've been listening to SoftSpot. I'll see you next Friday, God willing. Enjoy your day. Stay warm. Peace.